And I happened to look up, and there was a coyote pup just sitting up, and I could see from about like top of his shoulders up, so top of his shoulders, neck, head, and he was just sitting there, watching what was going on, and ranged him. It was 411. I already had my rifle up on a tripod, again using these Swaros dialed. I was shooting a 22 Creed, um, and I had getting prepping for this hunt. I'd kind of looked at the gun number data on what the wind was, and we had about a 7 or 8 mile an hour, like 130 wind that afternoon. And I just quick math, and I held 3 tenths and shot, and I was it hit right above the grass line, right in the middle of his neck, and put him down. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Red, White, and Moose. And this one I'm pretty excited to get into. I hope everyone's having a good week, and hunting season is treating some of you pretty good. I'm getting this one recorded the weekend before this is getting aired, because I'm going to be gone on Friday, and I'm freaking pumped. Orders have been flying out the door. Finally, it feels really good to be catching up on everything. Gonna be pretty much caught up by the time this is aired, and so I'm really excited about that. And thank you to everyone for all of the support. You guys have been freaking awesome. But I'm gonna head down to the Fort Worth area this coming week, dropping off some stuff with some friends, and meeting up with Dan, and picking up all of my rifles again. So I'm freaking amped about that. I got a picture of one of them, and so yeah, those are gonna look freaking sick. And then headed to doe drop and trying to get some does down, and then headed to back up here to West Texas to try and get a whitetail. But with all of that, I've been thinking a lot about you know hunting, and talking to customers about hunting and some things like that, and just kind of watching. And I know we all see it, and it's marketing. It's natural part of it. And I'll preface this with, I am a gear junkie. I love messing with new stuff. I love testing it out. I love seeing what works, what doesn't. So if I get it. I get it. If you like buying gear, buy a gear till your heart's little content. But there's a lot of things where it will we'll see, like, oh, get this new scope, or get this new chassis, or new bullet, or whatever the case is. And where I think a lot of people miss the mark is putting together a system that works, rather than just always having the newest and nicest things, or whatever it is that people are trying to do. As someone who, like, I compete and I hunt, and I've, through work and my natural curiosity, I've tried a lot of stuff. But there ends up being kind of a symbiotic thing that ends up working, through everything, once you kind of figure it out. And so that was kind of what I wanted to focus on for this one. A few points on, if you're looking to try to get, better your skills, and or start with a few upgrades that's going to matter the most, and not just throwing money at something. That's really where I wanted to kind of dive into. So the big one for me is data. And I know it sounds boring, but I can't tell you how many guys I know that have, really nice rifles, or they'll have custom rifles, or they'll go buy the newest, Night Force, or Collis, or Loophole, or whatever it is, just to have it, but then they don't have anything to track their data for their rifle. A Kestrel, some sort of ballistic solver, whatever that is. Now, I know I nerd out on this stuff, especially coming from a competitor, but in my mind, and especially with as much long range hunting is becoming prolific, and people are pushing more and more, and the gear that's out there is making it easier and easier and easier to. But without having data to track this, you're really just guessing at everything. And so my first suggestion would be getting a Kestrel, and getting one with applied ballistics. And there's a couple of reasons. for that. I've used the Applied Ballistics system a bunch, and it's proven to me reliability time and time and time again in all over the country in every kind of condition that I could put it through, and it has the built-in weather meter. Now, that may seem overkill for the average guy, but bear with me. I've got good reasons for it. So the biggest thing, start with your velocity. Borrow a chronograph, buy a chronograph, go use your buddies, whatever it is. But get out to the range, get the speed from the ammo that you're running out of your rifle so that you actually know what the speed is. You're not guessing off the speed off the box or what your buddy told you or what it does out of his gun or something like that. You're going to get the actual speed out of that ammo out of your gun. And then you can enter it into your ballistic solver. And I've got an episode previously going kind of walking through a bunch of the stuff on the Kestrel, and there's a bunch of other good information online, but it's fairly simple. But you can actually input your data with your bullet and your rifle setup, and it will eliminate so many problems immediately. If you're needing to shoot at 200 yards or 600 yards, or there's no wind or a little wind or all the wind or whatever, it it is to me, it is the Bible of information when it comes to long range shooting. And I take one, I mean, it goes with me anywhere I shoot for all of my guns. And especially where people look at it, I think generally is like, well, I don't want to spend, six, seven, $800 on it, and when the reality is it's six, seven, $800 and it doesn't like look cool on the wall like this, or, it's not new and flashy, or it's boring, and I get it. But, if you being confident and knowing your system in and out and exactly what it's going to do, and I'm not, and I'm not saying, get a Kestrel and then you can shoot animals at 1,000 yards. But what I am saying is, say, even if you wanted to put a hard limit on yourself of, say, I don't want to shoot anything past 300 yards, but, you've got a coyote gun that's a 22 250, and then you've got a whitetail gun that's a 308. And that's very, very, very different drop at 300 yards between those two guns. And so just being able to confidently know what everything is doing, it makes it really, really nice. And then especially if you're going on a big hunt, or you've put, it's like, season's full rock and rolling right now. If you've put in hours and hours and, no telling how much money, hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of dollars into prepping for the season or going on a big hunt, it'd be a damn shame if the only reason you didn't have any success was because you didn't know where to hold, but you looked good doing it. You know what I mean? So that is my number one thing. Get a Kestrel with Applied Ballistics and get to know it. And then where I think it's fun, and I'm a nerd, I love numbers, but what you can do, we're in the middle of hunting season, take it to deer camp, take it camping, and create a dummy profile on it and just sit there and mess with it, like while you're watching football or talking to your buddies or whatever. But then you can change the velocity of your load, you can change bullets, you can change wind speeds, you can change humidity and temperature, and you can just mess around with it and see what it does to your drop. You can put your target at 1,000 yards and say, all right, if I'm shooting, at 3,000 feet per second, what does it do to everything? And if I'm shooting at 2,400 feet per second, what does it do to everything? But between the 308 and the 22 250, and it's fun. And then you can start understanding what each of those inputs does to your data in its own respect, and you can do it on your own time and kind of teach yourself. And honestly, that's what I did when I first got one, was just messing around with it. But then the other thing where I think, and this takes time, but it's fun and you can do it literally anywhere, and this is one of the big reasons I like having the handheld Kestrel with the environmentals. Say you're like, you come in from lunch, or you're sitting around deer camp bullshitting with everybody, or you're filling feeders or whatever it is, and you've got it out with you. Just take a second and look around, and you can look at what the trees are doing and the grass is doing and the bushes, and what you feel on your face or your shirt. Is your shirt flat on your chest? Is it billowing a little bit? And take a guess. Is this a 3 mile an hour wind? Is this a 15 mile an hour wind? Is this 8? and then get your Kestrel out and check it and hold it up and see what the wind speed is. And, you're going to be off, when you first start doing it. But the more you can look at it and you can start guessing, and then you can just start internalizing that into, this is what a 5 mile an hour wind feels like. This is what a 10 mile an hour wind feels like. And you start getting more familiar with just being out and about and, looking at mirage and different things. And you can kind of just get a little bit more of that natural feeling. There's some people that are way freaking good at it, way better at it than I am, but it's something that you can just kind of practice with and get familiar. But then when you start knowing your data from your rifle and your ammo combination and familiar with what different wind speeds look like, then you really start to get dangerous, and you can start putting stuff together on the fly and being confident in it. So that is my first step. Getting data, getting familiar with your system, your rifle, your ammo combination, and then just sitting and messing around with your Kestrel and taking a guess at stuff. And I think it will surprise you, I think, when it's, and then, especially then if you're trying to validate data, or you're going to the range, or you're trying to determine like, well, I don't want to shoot past 300 yards or 400 yards or 500 yards, but then you go to 500 yards and then you don't know how to hold. If you get a Kestrel, you just put 500 yards and it tells you exactly what. It's nice. For those that, if you haven't seen them, check them out. They're awesome. Lone Peak Arms provides precision rifle shooters with extreme accuracy through their actions. Whether you're building a hunting or competition rifle, their Fusion or Razor actions are the perfect foundation. Both actions are available in short or long, left or right configurations, and in stainless or titanium. Guys, I've beat the crap out of my Lone Peak actions in sandy, muddy, freezing conditions, and they're stainless and titanium, and they've just kept on ticking. Your next rifle you get going, use a Lone Peak, and they're available at westtexasordnance.com. Hawkins Precision provides precision hunting rifle components built to help you go further and shoot farther. From rock-solid optics mounting solutions born out of the Rocky Mountains of Colorado to their Hunter bottom metal and flush magazine systems, Hawkins has a solution for your next hunting rifle build. When every shot counts, hunt with Hawkins. Guys, I've been running with Hawkins on all my rifles for a long time, from their one-piece mounts to their heavy tack rings to their ultralight rings, their bottom metals, their Hunter bottom metals, and everything's been great. Next time you're getting a new rifle put together, go with Hawkins. Alpha Munitions delivers the brass that top shooters trust. Their proprietary OCD technology represents the first major advancement in brass manufacturing in decades. Engineered to provide unmatched consistency and strength, with OCD brass, shooters experience less plastic deformation under identical loads, resulting in extended brass life, superior pressure retention, and consistency across multiple firings. Alpha Munitions sets the gold standard for precision rifle brass, crafted for those who measure to the thousandth and weigh to the kernel. Guys, I use Alpha Munitions brass in damn near everything I do. I use it for competing, for hunting, in my business. I love it. From piece to piece, lot to lot, cartridge to cartridge. It's been fantastic. Guys, go use code MOOSE for 10% off at Phalanx-Arms on Alpha Munitions brass. Foundation Hunting Stocks has combined 3 unique materials, micarta, carbon fiber, and Kevlar, to create their new hybrid line of stocks. This combines the stiffness and lightness of carbon fiber with the impact resistance, toughness, and vibration dampening of the Kevlar. The micarta bedding block allows them to machine the precise inlets and seating surfaces that they're known for. Guys, I've been using Foundation stocks for years, and I love that dead recoil impulse that they have. And now being able to bring that same dead feeling into a hunting stock that's light enough to hunt the backcountry is pretty remarkable. Guys, go to Phalanx-Arms and use the code HYBRID for 10% off Foundation stocks. Then, okay, moving on to part number 2. So this is what I would move into a little bit as maybe like the foundation of moving into the kind of this next step. If you're, so like I said, it's fun going and buying all the new stuff, but if you don't have the budget for it, or you don't know where to start, this is a great place to start. A good quality trigger and a little bit of training. So I run Bix and Andy and Trigger Tech triggers on most of my, on all of my rifles. I run Bix and Andy's pretty much on everything now, but I still have a bunch with Trigger Techs on them. I've primarily been running, so I started running them when they had the TAC Sport Pro. Then I've got a couple of the TAC Sport Pro X, just the new version of it, and I've been running those for quite a while and love them. I just got a couple of the Bix and Andy Dakota triggers for these two new builds that are going. I haven't run those in the past. I think they'll be great. It's should be just another good, clean, crisp trigger, but only goes down to a pound. And that was plenty, or I thought that was going to be plenty for what I needed for these two setups. So, but I'll keep y'all posted on that. But a good trigger it just makes the whole shooting experience much more pleasurable and repeatable. And then something in this, and I've talked on this a little bit, and people like to argue it, but this is a stance that I haven't found a good reason to convince me otherwise. But I don't. The all of the trends right now is going light, going light, going light, ultra light hunting, and there's a time and place for it, absolutely. And there's some really cool innovations that are coming out with, because of it. But a couple of extra pounds in a rifle, stability wise and shootability wise, makes all the difference in the world. And, shooting a scoped 6 pound gun, I mean, there's a time and place for it, but setting up for the shot, it's going to be wobbling all over the place, and recoil, it's going to move a ton. It's not going to be comfortable to shoot. It's going to be hard to see where you hit or if you missed. And honestly, one of the best so this rifle down on the bottom. This is my NRL open light setup. Right now I've got a 6PRC steel barrel in it, which puts it just over open light. But I think this gun's sitting at like 13 pounds as it sits with bipod and everything. But as it sits with my open light, it's about a pound and a half, 2 pounds heavier than my open light setup is about 11 and a half pounds. And just the difference from that to this is very, very noticeable. And then from this to my open heavy setup, which is about uh right under 15 pounds. Big difference again. And then this one, like, and not that I don't do it, and people are like, I'm not gonna make it sound like, oh, it's just a huge deal, I can't do it. But like, I prefer to not even take the triple pull off of this gun when I'm shooting it, because the triple pull is fairly heavy, but it's about 2 pounds, a little over. And which, by the way, if you haven't seen, MDT just dropped the new Gen 3 Skypods, so check those out. But taking a little over 2 pounds off the front of the rifle and like shooting positionally, I can instantly feel how much more the gun wants to move around, because it goes from like 11 and a half pounds to 9 pounds instantly. And so it's something to keep in mind. And it's like, something. Okay, here's what I would like for you to do is take a step back and look at, what is the style of hunting that you do. Are you hiking, miles every day? And if you are, is it flat? Is it up and down mountains? Are you walking from the truck to a blind? I just don't think we always need, or as many people need, ultralight rifles as the marketing would have us think. Where a 10 pound gun, a 12 pound gun, hell, even a 15 pound gun. I mean, it's just it's way more enjoyable, and it's way more stable. And even just like zeroing a gun at 100 yards. I'm I live here in Amarillo in West Texas, and it's windy all the time. And I was zeroing a light gun the other day, and it was really windy. And even just laying down prone behind, I think it was like a 7 pound rifle. Even just the gusts would just shake the scope around and move the gun and move me. And it's just a pain in the ass, honestly. And, if that was a, 10 pound gun, I wouldn't have the same, as much wobble that I'm trying to deal with. And if you want to try it, get a bag and throw it on to, throw different guns on it and see how much they move. Try to aim at a piece of paper, dot, and see how easy it is to control a heavier one versus a light one. So, and then something that I don't think a lot of people take into consideration, a lot of these factory triggers are, they're really heavy. They're 4, 5, 6 pound triggers, and when you are having to apply almost the weight of the weapon to the trigger pull, that's a lot of influence and input that you're putting into that system that is going to make it harder to be consistent and to make a good shot. And now you can shoot with a heavy trigger good, but if you're shooting a 6 or 7 pound rifle and you have a 5 or 6 pound trigger pull, you're damn near pulling the whole rifle. So it's take a look at it. It's something where I think a lot of people just chase light just to have light. And to be honest, it's go lose some weight. If all of us can stand to lose weight. And yes, I know there is a difference between weight hanging on you versus it being you. But go, if you need to, if you want to shave a pound off of your rifle, go shave 10 pounds off of you. You will feel so much better. Your cardiovascular, your joints, everything else, and then that 1 pound on the gun won't seem like near as much of a deal. I've lost a ton of weight. Ask me how much better I feel, and I still have a long way to go, but it's something to keep in mind. Make yourself better. Don't just. A lot of people just tend people like to just throw money at stuff and think that it's going to make them better, or having the best gear will make them better, but make you better. Get on the treadmill, put the cheeseburger down. Sorry. I'm also on a little bit of it's been a long ass week. And I mean, guys, I fell asleep at 8 o'clock last night and I slept for 11 and a half hours. I'm exhausted, but anyways, the West Texas Ordnance Switch Lug is a patented quick change barrel system that allows caliber and capability changes in minutes without the need of a barrel vise or an action wrench. It allows for precise, repeatable return to zero within plus or minus half MOA. It allows the use of one rifle platform with multiple barrels to perform a variety of tasks. And it can be used on short or long actions and standard or magnum cartridges. Guys, I've got switch lugs on most of my rifles, and it just makes switching barrels incredibly easy. One of my favorite things being able to do with it is being able to have a rifle and be able to switch from something, say like a 22 Creed to a 6.5 PRC in the field with just a barrel and bolt swap and no barrel vise needed. Guys, check out West Texas Ordnance and their switch lug system. Raven Rifles produces artwork that shoots. Their custom Lurk Cerakote pattern provides depth and color that most patterns just dream of. From Snow Wolf to Copperhead, you'll be able to blend in wherever you end up. And their limited release rifles truly are a functional work of art. They're available in limited numbers and guaranteed to catch your eyes. I absolutely love the Lurk pattern. I've had it on my Really Right Stuff tripod for a while and getting most of my rifles redone in it right now. If you want to see more, go to ravenrifles.com. Botnia Solutions makes unbelievably high-performing muzzle brakes. Their brakes use low ground blast angles for a reduced dust signature, controlled gas exit design for a smooth impulse and stable recoil, and upward-facing ports that apply downward force without introducing disruptive vibrations. I absolutely love my Botnia brakes. I've been running the Maxi and MIDI on my PRS and hunting rifles and couldn't be happier. If you want the most out of recoil control, look no further than the Botnia brakes. Use code Botnia on phalanx-arms.com for 10% off. Again, so one thing you can do with this, dry fire. You've got a new trigger in, dry fire. Get behind it, just reps, and you'll get used to the new pull weight. You'll get used to, breaking a good clean shot, and it's good practice. You'll just get more reps behind the system and putting everything together. Then training. So I'll tell you how I did it, and I'll let you tell me if you think it was a good idea. I went and bought all the gear, and then I think I shot 1 or 2 regional PRS matches, and then I went to a 2-day and never took any training, and then just shot 2-day after 2-day after 2-day and did really, really bad for a while, started not sucking after a little bit, started doing kind of average after a bit, and then finally started doing pretty good. It took a lot of money, effort, and stress to do it that way. A little bit of training goes a long way, especially if you're in the beginning of your journey. Training and experiences and processes can help manage stress and keep you cool, calm, and collected, and get you through things that in a quick and efficient way. And so if you think about it, like buck fever and first stage jitters, or they're the same thing. It's an adrenaline dump, and you start, you get excited and shaky and your heart's pumping. And in matches, we manage that through checklists and pre-stage, pre-shot checklists that you do every single time. It's the same thing every single stage, every single shot, every single match. And when you start putting, these checklists together and doing the same thing and knowing the system in and out, you start to be able to manage that and work under pressure and perform quickly and efficiently. Honestly, the first when I first noticed this, I've been hunting for a while, but I it was after my first good season in PRS. And I was hunting, I was in a blind, and where I'm up on this hill and it's overlooking, and it's got this kind of open area, and then there's a road that comes from the right and then and then runs directly out away from me about like 1,200 yards, and then there over on the right there's trees, but it's fairly sparse, and then at about 400 yards it hits real thick timber, or woods on either side of the road. And it was in the middle of the rut. I'd been seeing there's stuff moving all day, and it is fun, because it's just there was kind of something going on all the time. And then this doe comes busting out from the tree line at like 400 yards, and she just barrels through and just like, I mean, like behind me in no time. I'm like, okay, there's something chasing her, and the buck I was going after busts out of the trees at 400 yards, and he's on a pretty good trot, nose down. Man, I look up, and like his neck's all rutted up, and his chest under his neck is jiggling back and forth as he's like, I mean, it was like just perfect rut scene. Got my gun out. I already had my bag up on the window, got the gun up, and was tracking him as he's coming in, and he takes the same path that this doe had done, and he's getting close, and he starts to turn, and I figured, I realized he's following that exact path, and right as he turns, I shot, and he runs off 60 yards and falls over. And I got my rifle, put it back down, or rested it up in the blind, and leaned back, and it hit me in that moment. I was like, I didn't get, because I always got buck fever. Like that was always kind of like one of my favorite things about hunting too. So you get that adrenaline dump, and it's exciting. You get to go see the animal and take the shot and da da da. And it hit me. I was like, that's never happened to me before. And I sat there for, I don't know, probably 8 to 10 minutes, just kind of thinking about it and processing it. And I was like, did I don't know. I didn't really know what happened. And I almost felt kind of bummed out a little bit, because that, rush, is exciting. But I was like, but I started going through, I was like, well, everything worked very well. It's just very mechanical, gun out, bolt closed, shot, guns up, deers down, done. And so I was very happy about that. So, but anyways, and so then I started getting all my stuff together, got out of the blind, and I mean, 2 steps out of the blind, that adrenaline dump hit, and it just, my heart was going, and walked over to the deer, and I still had that cool, like, that draw for me for hunting, and that's part of it. But I got that excitement, but it was the accomplishment and not the shit in the moment experience. And so that it was pretty neat. And it was just, and it was especially, and that was the one of the cooler shots, I guess. It was an easy shot, but just watching him in the middle of that chase was really cool. And being able to get him in a fairly quick type scenario was cool. And then there was another one that kind of the same concept. It was earlier this year, in February, and me and some friends put a team together for the West Texas Big Bobcat competition. And we made this stand, and it'd been a really slow start, and called in our first coyote, and Sloan got him down, and he was kind of barking and making noise, and I happened to look up, and there was a coyote pup just sitting up, and I could see from about the top of his shoulders up, so top of his shoulders, neck, head, and he was just sitting there, watching what was going on. And ranged him. It was 411. I already had my rifle up on a tripod, again using these Swaros dialed. I was shooting a 22 Creed, um, and I had getting prepping for this hunt. I'd kind of looked at the gun number data on what the wind was, and we had about a 7 or 8 mile an hour, like 130 wind that afternoon. And I just quick math, and I held 3/10 and shot, and it hit right above the grass line, right in the middle of his neck, and put him down. And I came out of the gun, got back on binos, and was watching, and kind of the same thing. I was glassing and watching. I was like, man, that was cool. Like it went very smoothly, very efficiently. It was a small target that was mostly hidden, that at a decent distance, and it just all happened in about 10 seconds. And it just sometimes things like that happen, and it's just like, man, that was cool. And so then we go out to start trying to find them, and same thing, my my heart start gets going again. And so it's fun. But it and I noticed that from NRL Hunter, just being able to spot, range, shoot on the fly, and doing it quickly and efficiently, it showed up. And so I say all that to say, when the more knowledge and experience that you can put together and put in your head, and then when you combine it into these systems, it makes all the difference in the world. Now, I'll preface with this. I've trained with a couple of guys now that trying to refine small things, and it depends on what you're wanting to get trained in. If you're doing PRS, Matt Caruso is doing trainings now, and Matt Caruso has a ton of accolades to back that up. JTAC has been doing trainings for a while. Same, those guys are tremendous shooters. Now, if you're not a precision rifle competitor, I haven't dug into trainings on that side of things near as much yet. I will say, through competition, I have seen a ton of Phil Vallejo's content. I think he is probably um the guy that I would push people towards. I haven't taken his class yet, but I've through his content, I like the stance and the approach that he takes to precision rifle shooting. And same, he has all the accolades and accomplishments to back up what he's teaching. And I know some people. I'm close with people that are close with him that have nothing but great things to say about him. Um, and now he's with the cadre. So if you want to take a look at that, Phil seems like a pretty solid dude, and knows what he's talking about. But getting some training, and it all just depends on how you want to take a look at it. Like, I love learning, and I know not everybody does. And again, it's not that like hot, sexy, I get to go show somebody what I bought kind of thing. But it is pretty freaking cool when you can come up and say, "Hey, look what I shot," and not, "Yeah, I missed. Hopefully next year." You know what I mean? Like, don't it. So get some training. That, or if you can't afford training, there's a lot of great information on YouTube. I'm trying to put out stuff. Take notes from this stuff, and go dry fire, or go take a box of ammo to the range and practice with it. Or put some purpose behind it, and you become the key part of the system versus the rifle. And that's where I think a lot of people miss the mark. Then, honestly, the last thing, and it's easy, and it's very, very affordable. But one of these, get a shooting bag. It's not just for competing, it's not just for PRS. I think every hunter in the woods should have one of these. This is the Wee Bad Tater Tots, and it's got their light fill in it. If you're hunting out of a blind, you can throw it over your blind like this. You can throw it over a rock. You can throw it over a tree. You can put your binos on it. You can put your gun on it. It makes everything stable. It's super light. Every hunter needs one of these. You can use it as a rear bag when you're shooting prone, and then putting a bipod on your rifle. Put a good quality bipod on your rifle, and don't go buy one of the $15 ones from Walmart or Academy or whatever. Get a good quality bipod. Harris is kind of my and I don't mean this in a negative way when I say they're cheap, but like they're very affordable. Harris bipods, they're 150 bucks. They're basic, but they're very, very solid. They Guys run them in PRS all the time. I have some on some rifles. They're simple, but they work. Then up on this Geisley, this is kind of my staple bipod. It's the Atlas PSR, and I think they're about $300, $275 to $300 now, but they're built like a tank. They work. I like they have the features that I think a good quality bipod needs, and they're very capable. Now, if you want what I think is the best bipod is the SkyPod from MDT. So the one on this is the triple pull, but they've got single pulls, double pulls, triple pulls. There's a million versions of them. When you start getting positional stuff and, practical on the fly shooting down, these types of bipods, being able to move them and adapt to anything is just they're worth their weight in gold, honestly. And these triple pulls can get you up. They're 3 feet tall. They can get you up over the grass, or you can take a kneeling shot anywhere. But getting that steady, being able to get that steady. So if you have the opportunity, you can go prone, bipod, bag, anywhere. Fantastic. If you can't, you've got this bag to be able to throw it on something and shoot and get stable. And these are about, depending on the size, they have smaller versions of this. I like the bigger version. It's just they're more stable and it's great for glassing off of and stuff. But this weighs like a pound. And then they have smaller versions that are like $80 that are like half a pound to 3/4. I mean, throw a carabiner on it or whatever, stuff it in your pack. But these things are absolutely awesome. But that's how you create the system. And so now you've got good data, a clean, crisp trigger pull on a steady rifle that you can get steady anywhere. And I'm telling you, it makes all the difference in the world. So I really just, take a look at, see through some of the shiny new hotness and start putting together systems that work for you and become a part of that system. But so like my full system when I take hunting, and I mean I'm going in a few days. So I take binos, a bag, my rifle, and a tripod, and a backpack, I guess, if you need snacks and stuff. But my binos, I can glass with them. They've got a rangefinder in them, so I know how far away the animal is, and then it's got a ballistic solver in it. I'm running the Swaro EL ranges, these right here, and so I've got all my data, good quality glass, and then I've got this bag so I can get stable anywhere, and I've got bipods on all of my guns, and then I have a tripod that I take, and if for whatever reason none of this works, I can get up and shoot stable off a tripod. And then I've got my rifles set up how I want. I'm taking a handful of them on this trip, but the main one I'll be taking for my hunt, it's my open heavy setup. I think as it sits, it'll be I think it will be end up being like 13 pounds or 13 and a half pounds, something like that. So think about that, and you can start applying that to anything, if it's just your generic range rifle, if it's your hunting rifle, if it's your competition rifle, start, looking at where, the weaknesses are, and putting together full complete systems that work for you and make everything easier. And it's going to make your life a whole lot easier. You're going to hit more targets, you're going to get more animals down, and stop wasting as much money. So, guys, I hope that one helps. I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. I'm hoping when I get back, I will have some fun hunting stories to share with you. And I hope your hunting season is going freaking badass. Good luck to everybody out there. Thank you to the show sponsors: Alpha Munitions, Lone Peak, Collis Foundation, Hawkins, West Texas Ordnance, Raven Rifles, and Botnia Solutions. I love you guys. I'll see you next week.